2, 1. You are now live on Channel 8 and YouTube.
Great. Thank you very much, TCTV. Good evening. The time is now 6:30 p.m. I'm Chairman Mike Curry, and I'd like to call our Select Board business meeting to order on this 8th day of November, 2023. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Adam, if you would, lead us off.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for that. Before we begin, I'd like to state for the record that not only are we being streamed live on TCTV Cable Station 8 and our YouTube web platform, but this evening's recording will be available for later viewing on our YouTube channel. We in TCTV would be happy if you subscribe, hit the bell, that way you know anytime there's a meeting started. If there are any of our audience members who are or plan to record video, please let us know. We do have a quorum. We may see Julie join via Zoom. She was headed out of town, but she was trying to join. As always, our agenda for this evening is publicly available at the official source for town information, templetonma.gov. There you may sign up for alerts or for all public meetings, as well as our town administrator's weekly report. I would also encourage those listening who have not signed up for Code Red alerts to do so via our website. You can click the button right on the homepage, or by calling 866-939-0911, as this is the primary method for engaging with the public for important emergency information, important information. Although I have the discretion as chairperson to add and remove from the agenda, it has been set to allow for time, personnel resources, and public awareness. I do reserve the right to move agenda items around to best fit our business and our guests. Let's see. Excluding board minutes and comments, we have about 11 items on our agenda this evening with an estimated meeting time, I would say less than 2 hours, inclusive of a executive session. If this is your first select board meeting, we are glad that you joined us. We are proud to serve the community and will address tonight's business with patience, fairness, and efficiency, and we would ask the same from our guests. Let's have a great meeting. All right, let's jump right in. First item is approval of minutes for our meeting minutes of October 25th, 2023.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the minutes of 10/25/23 as presented.
Have a motion? Need a second?
So seconded.
All right, thank you, Matt. Motion in a second. Any observations, amendments, notes on
Just
those minutes?
A little cleanup on also present. It might come off a little easier. Recreation Commissioners, Chair Candy and Hunter Graves, and Vice Chair Jessica and Derek Sutton. It's a little awkward the way it's in there. And that gets all of them. Want me to write it down, Jackie? Thanks. So just Rec Commissioners.
You were just cleaning up the order?
Just cleaning up the names. It just said Candace Graves, Rep Parks and Recreation Commission and members of the Recreation Commission. Instead, I just put Recreation Commissioners, Chair Candy and Hunter Graves, Vice Chair Jessica and Derek Sutton. That's the commission right now.
Okay.
And thank you for the service.
Okay, any other amendments or observations? Hearing none, on the motion to accept the amended meeting minutes of 10/25/23, how would you vote? Matt?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you for those amendments. All right, we don't have any executive session minutes at this point. We're gonna go into citizen input. Is there any citizen input? Come on up. Or as the late Bob Barker said, come on there. You care, sir?
What, you care?
Good evening. Just a couple things right quick. The sand shed is started construction this afternoon. So by the end of next week, materials should be available for the residents to come get some sand if they wish. And the other thing is, all goes well. We'll be starting the online auction next week, so any residents interested in some town surplus, please visit the website. It'll be up there and I'll give you the link to follow to the auction.
Quick question for you. Proceeds from the auction go back to the general fund, or do they go back to the department in which the equipment came? General fund. Okay. I had a question.
Yeah, there are some special things that like the police department, it might go back to them sometimes or whatever specified, but I don't believe there's nothing that was specified for put aside.
Our earmarks
Yeah,
possible.
Mike, yeah.
Yep, I know that there was some concern about there's senior center items. And if
The
there
only
were any
thing-
dollar, go ahead.
The only thing they did question, when Cindy was here was the pool table.
Mhm.
Other than that, everything else is.
Okay.
As far as I know, it's general fund.
Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome.
I do want, Julie's not here, she's not online, but I do want to wish Julie a happy retirement. She is retiring, I think, at the end of this week. She had texted me and said she was 5 shifts away from her retirement, so congratulations, Julie.
Congratulations.
Any other citizen input? Okay. Any other announcements from the board? All right, moving into new business. First item, introductions of new employees. Very exciting. Adam or Candy, are you going to introduce? Candace?
I could have Candace,
Yeah.
the chair of Parks and Rec,
Yeah, we've got the
do
chair
the
of commission.
introduction.
So, and I'm not gonna say her name like you will pronounce it.
I
So this is,
forgot about your voice. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's why
I heard you last night. I was, oh my goodness.
this is our new employee for Parks and Rec. She's the administrative assistant. She assists us in all that administrative stuff, and we are super happy to have her. I like to call her Deith, and our last name is Cabrera. Would you like to say that?
Nothing other than I'm super excited to work with you guys and I'm here for whatever you guys need.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dave.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard,
Good-
Dave.
Good fit.
Dave, you live in town?
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
Yeah, she lives in Baldwinville, but not super close to the senior center where our offices are too. Yeah.
Great.
How about family?
I have 3 kids. Yeah, I have 3 kids and I've been married for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Dave.
Look forward to seeing you. Pete.
Okay, item 5B, no new appointments this evening. We are going to go into item 5C, which is our tax classification hearing. I would accept a motion to open the tax classification hearing.
So moved.
There's a
Second.
motion and Tim is the second. Thank you very much. Any discussion on opening the tax classification hearing? Hearing none, to open the meeting, how would you vote? Matt,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Time is now 6:38 PM. Good evening.
Hello, everyone. So just so that everyone is aware, I'm Justice Graves and the Deputy Assessor. On behalf of the Board of Assessors, with me is Assessor George Barnes.
Thank you, George.
I will be presenting the classification hearing for you today. Just as a heads up, we do this as a part of our process going towards the tax rate recap sheet. This is one of the next steps in the process where we inform you of what's happening with values in the town, what's happening with the sales, and what the general state of our valuations are. Just going to start off, if you go to the tax impacts, FY24's values have been set. Roughly across the board, it's about a 7% increase. If anyone remembers from last year, It was a much greater increase of almost 20% for residential. That was because our assessed values did not match the sale prices that were happening in the market at that time. It has changed a little bit since then. We didn't have to do as many adjustments this time. We didn't have as many qualifying sales for land, so land values stayed the same. So that is to be understood. At the same time, there weren't any changes to commercial and industrial property in terms of valuations this year. There will be changes probably next year. For anyone who isn't aware, next year is a recertification year for the town where we have to meet certification standards with the DOR. So we'll be taking a deeper look into land, into commercial and industrial property values. But at this time, the sales in the market don't reflect that. We need to change anything. And the 7% that happened for residential was not completely across the board. It was more of the average of what happened in a lot of the different categories. Your ranches went up, your colonials had went up, your ranches, colonials, your conventionals, your raised ranches, your antiques, your condos, those had went up. Some categories of homes did not go up. But across the board there, it was about a 7% increase for that. If you go to the next page on the classification hearing information, what that resulted in is when we set our values, you'll notice that in terms of residential, we have about 92.7% of our values are residential. That is up about 0.4% from last year when this had been presented to you. The combined for commercial, industrial, and personal property CIP is at 7.2%, which is of course down from last year in terms of value and in terms of what we have in the town. Your industrial properties have not changed in terms of the number of parcels and what businesses and what types of businesses are in town. But in terms of any new commercial or industrial growth, there really isn't any. Everything is on the burden of the taxpayer in terms of what the assessed value growth is and in terms of the growth being generated from the town, as you can see by the increase from year to year. The average single family home value is up from last year about $24,115. It is now up to $344,266. And the question that everybody always asks is, what does a dollar raise on the tax rate? You will notice that a dollar on the tax rate raises $1,073,526 this year. Values are still over $1 billion in the town at $1,073 million this year. The second year in a row that we've been at over $1 billion. And do you have any questions or?
Justice through you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the Templeton historic assessments and percentage of value.
Yep.
The commercial value from 2023 to 2024, it looks like it jumped significantly from 32. I'm assuming that's million, 836,400 to 46 million. Is there a reason for that, or? Right there.
That is the total CIP. There were additions. So we have more accounts in terms of personal property here. Let me look at- A lot of that new growth in that category would have come from what was state valued for Verizon and what also would have increased from some of the new personal property accounts that we had in terms of camps down at Peaceful Pines. But other than that, there were no other significant changes in terms of that.
Okay.
Any questions?
The questions from the board. Nope. About any audience questions? Did that conclude your presentation?
Yeah, the only other thing that, the only other thing that I will mention is at their October meeting, the Board of Assessors did, discuss all the same information in front of you. And, after looking at all of the information and, the current values of the town, they did make a recommendation to the selectmen to vote for a single rate, for a residential factor of 1 and for a corresponding CIP shift of 1, pending the certification of the town's annual tax recap. So that is recommendation. Are there any other questions?
Is it CIP shift of 1?
Yeah, actually, if you look at the page that says voting a tax shift factor, it's
Suggested
after the
motion is
tax,
there.
yeah, the suggested motion is there, yeah.
Does that conclude your presentation?
Yep.
Okay. All right, I would entertain a motion to come out of the, go ahead.
So move to come out of the public hearing. Second.
All right, a motion and second. Any discussion on coming out of public hearing? Hearing none on the motion to come out of public hearing, how do you vote? Matt?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim? Yes. And I vote yes as well. We are out of tax classification hearing at 6:46 PM.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
I move that in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56, as amended, the percentage of local tax levy which will be borne by each class of real and personal property relative to setting the fiscal year 2024 tax rates, and set the residential factor at 1.0000 with a corresponding CIP shift of 1.0000 pending certification of the town's annual tax recap by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue.
I have a motion and Tim had the second. Any discussion? We'll say, over the past couple of years, it's gone from not 89, 11, 90, 10, 91. Now we're at 92 and 8 for residential. And as John, the past John.
Capless?
No, not John. John.
Oh, Brooks.
I couldn't blank on his last name. John had told us in the past, it was just, it was very difficult when you have that those numbers creeping on you. So I hope we can slow that down at some point. I know that there's a variety of different things that can be done to do that. I sit on the EDIC, we're really trying to be able to slow that shift so we have a balance, and then, you know, that may give the Board of Assessors a little bit more wiggle room and tools to be able to consider options rather than the one that we've been using for the past or for many years, single tax rate one. So that's always the interesting part that you come in that offer during the hearing. So I appreciate that, but where we are. Any other discussion? Okay. Okay, on the motion to approve the recommendation of the Board of Assessors as presented, how would you vote? Matt?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Job well done.
Justice, thank you, Board of Assessors.
Okay, next on our agenda is 5D. It's presentation that Terry is going to give us this evening on emotional intelligence. When Terry approached me probably about 2 weeks ago, she had already talked about emotional intelligence from a conference, seminar conference.
Conference WeMo.
Yep, WeMo conference, and she talked about the values of being able to discuss emotional intelligence, especially when you wind up having, if you're working between people, it's good to understand different methodologies and really what might be going on in that other person's head. So I said, Terry, I think that's a great idea. If you can put together a presentation, I can give you I'd like to give her 20 minutes on the clock.
I'll try to
She
be-
said maybe I might have to come back at another point, but
Or quicker.
very, very excited to give Terry some time to be able to tell the board, the assembled people here tonight, and those out in TV land on emotional intelligence. Terry?
Thank you, and I'm very grateful because the more I talk about it, the stronger I get at it. We teach best what we need to learn most, so. I quote, "Some people have never heard what other folks have already forgotten." One day, a little girl was watching her mom make roast beef. She cut off the ends, wrapped it in a string, seasoned it, and set it in the roasting pan. The little girl asked her mom why she cut off the ends of the roast. The mom replied, after some thought, "That's the way my mother had done it." That night, Grandma came to dinner, and little girl and her mom went to her and asked her why she cut the end of the roast off before cooking. After some thought, Grandma replied, "That was the way my mom did it." Our great-grandmother was quite old and in a nursing home, but the little girl went with her mom and grandma to see her and again asked the question. The great-grandmother looked at them, a bit perplexed, and said, "As I recall, so it would fit in the pan." So that's supposed to be a joke, but it's also a parable in regard to how things come down through the generations. We discard practices that no longer apply to today. And we're always learning. So out of all the concerns facing women elected in municipal offices, the majority expressed concern with how to deal with difficult or abusive situations. To be honest, this was the second time this year I attended a Mass Municipal Association training on this subject. The first was entitled Municipal Core Values, and it was run as a webinar from Cape Cod, a clinic on Cape Cod. Wouldn't you know that in that conference, the emotional intelligence was touched upon. Conflict can arise between coworkers, bosses, or the public. So the first main, these are my notes, so I'm just shooting out what's on how people are thinking today and what trainings, and I don't have a lot of notes, but I just figured out. So the first one was sharpen your self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and I'll get into detail when I do the WeMo notes. Have a growth mindset, solicit feedback. How am I coming across? Have and display a positive outlook, communicate and be proactive, talk about conflict, understand your personal conflict style, engage early when there's an appearance of conflict. Don't take it personally, and they use the little adage, Q-tip, quit taking it personal, because it really isn't about you. It's about, if you're listening, it's about the other person. Set the boundary. I'm not comfortable. Can we take this up at another time? I'd like to make it work. When you have to say no, avoid using "that's the policy" or "because that's it." It's a close statement. Try, "I wish we could do that. This is what we can do." Empowerment tips, discuss. So empowerment tips, I was going to ask for discussion, but I think I'm going to just leave that out right now. It talked about team support, leadership, mental health break. It's kind of hard when you're on a select board and there's open meeting law violations. So there's other things, but what they were kind of saying for empowerment tips too is set the tone in town buildings and maybe have little signs around, like if you practice kindness, or what would we like to see in this building? Is there anything that in our mission statement that we could, like, we have the business up there, but there are other things around here too, as far as motions go, that you can put up as signs to trigger you in a better direction. So, and I was actually taught that from a nurse. If you want to achieve something, put a little sign up, and then you don't have to do anything else, but you just keep seeing that sign. So be resilient. Remember the big picture. Sometimes you feel defensive and annoyed. Remember, we can't change people, only ourselves. Self-disclosure. I feel that way too. Open-ended. How will that work for you? So those were a couple of tips from the webinar. Now the WeMo notes, first speaker, Callie Ritter, she's the principal Positive Ripple Training and Consulting, and she's like the go-to for Mass Municipal. Her two topics were responding with our emotional intelligence, leveraging social emotional skills in tough circumstances, contagious nature of emotions, mood barometer, and mirroring neurons, including body language. So she listed the 4 types of intelligence: language and math, which is logic intelligence, kinesthetic, musical, and the 4th is emotional. And the definition is emotional intelligence refers to the ability to identify and manage one's own emotions as well as the emotions of others. 5 components of EI. So the first one is self-awareness. Self-awareness is about recognizing and understanding your emotions, what you're feeling and why, as well as appreciating how they affect those around you. It's the basis of good intuition and decision-making, helping you to instinctively make the right choices for you in all aspects of life. Self-awareness is also about knowing your strengths and weaknesses and what's important to you, your values and moral compass. Self-regulation. Once you've mastered emotional awareness, the next step is managing those emotions, particularly the negative ones, effectively. Always treat others with respect and try to stay in control. If you have a tendency to emotional outbursts, practice being calm, step back and take a deep breath. It's also important to stay true to your values and hold yourself personally accountable for your any mistakes. Motivation, it's required to build strong relationships. The third, personal element. Motivation is about your drive to improve and achieve, setting high standards for yourself and working consistently toward your goals. Take the initiative, be ready to act on opportunities that come along, and practice being assertive. Motivation is also about optimism and resilience and finding the positive in a situation, even or especially those that didn't go well. Social skills, often described as people person. Those who are socially skilled are adept at dealing with others. They are trustworthy team players and confident communicators, as good as listening to others, other people, as they are at speaking themselves. They also make great leaders, inspiring and motivating colleagues, managing change and resolving conflict effectively, and giving praise when it's due. The 5th and final, awareness of others, empathy, a key interpersonal skill. Empathy is the ability to put yourself in someone else's shoes and see the situation from their perspective. As well as having an awareness of others' feelings, it's important to acknowledge and respond to them, even if you don't agree with them. Respecting diversity and inclusion is a vital aspect of empathy, as is communication. Pay close attention to what you and others say, whether verbally or through body language. The next speaker was Katie Gilfeather. She's a clinician accountant manager for All One Health. She was talking about becoming comfortable with our personal power. That's something I'm still looking into. Connecting your vision and values to your message, staying grounded in the face of fake news. How we know that? It's about our state of mind. Why do so many women seem to struggle with being powerful? Owning your own story. Why did you choose to become a leader? Your vision. Who am I? What do I want to be? How do I show up for myself in the world? Staying grounded when faced with nastiness. Not getting knocked off our center to stick to our message. Learning how to recognize your triggers and respond, not react. Again, not taking others' nastiness to heart. Becoming comfortable with not knowing, letting go of expecting others to like us. Our confidence should be in who we are. How to connect with your why. And then she brought up, this is the second time I've heard of this, is the amygdala and memory. The body keeps, all right, I'm just going to go with amygdala and memory. And then she said, listen with curiosity and use supporting language. What would be a good outcome for you? What are you hoping for? Set boundaries if the discussion is illogical. So I'm fascinated with the amygdala because it was a trigger. That was the second time I heard it. The first time I heard it was at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary under Carolyn Rexius, who handled Men Who Batter. And the way she explained it to them was amygdala is your emotions, and if your emotions aren't processed healthfully, they go back and affect your memory. And they trigger back and forth. So I just wrote a little bit about the amygdala. The amygdala is a tiny brain structure that registers emotions, particularly fear and anxiety. When fear and anxiety don't get processed healthfully, it can lead to aberrant behavior. And that's basically what she said. But then I just happened to go somewhere Sunday, and Dr. Michael A. Caparelli a former pastor of 16 years and a PhD in advanced studies in human behavior. His recent book is entitled Monster Mirror, based on 100 hours, 31 sessions with convicted serial killer David Berkowitz, once known as Son of Sam. And Son of Sam was an anomaly back then. And today we're getting desensitized to some of these things. He cited a study done with two groups, and this kind of explains the amygdala, who were shown a troublesome picture. One group got to debrief, talk about their responses. The second group was sent home to sleep on it. No communication. The next morning, both groups went in and fMRIs were performed on the brains of all participants. The result, in the imaging for the debrief group, only the amygdala was lit up, and it was normal as amygdala processes emotions. The group that was not allowed to communicate was a different story. Almost every area of their brain was lit up, including the part of the brain that causes addictions. So then I don't want to go over my time and read about, but there's an article called The 6 F's of Trauma Responses by Donna Ara-Meunier, published September 28th, 2021, if Mike wants to bring up. So in 1915, they only had fight or flight as a response to stress and trauma. And there's a little disclaimer. It's important to note that no one theory is right or wrong. Rather, these tools may inform survivors how to better understand the response to environmental triggers, intrusive thoughts, nightmares, or re-traumatization. So now, no, not that one. It's the 6 F's. I can go over them. You don't have to bring it up if that's okay. So the 6 F's now are fight, flight, freeze, fawn, flood, and fatigue or flop. And part of what a book that I read was You Are Not So Smart, was saying that these responses, it's good to, like, Chief Dickey, he has to practice for his response to fires. His men have to go through drills. Everybody should, if you need to do it at your house, you should go through that, because what they find is in an emergency or a disaster, people will freeze. And the more you practice, the better chance you have of staying alive. So you don't know which type. So so there's a response, fight, posturing against or confronting a perceived threat, may present as explosive outbursts, anger, defiance, or demanding. Sometimes it gets mislabeled as narcissistic. Flight, fleeing or symbolically fleeing the perceived threat by way of hyperactive response, may present as anxiety, fidgeting, overworrying, workaholic tendencies, or mislabeled as OCD. Freeze, dissociating in response to the perceived threat, spacing out, losing time, feeling unreal brain fog, or feeling numb, mislabeled as dissociative disorder. Fawn, placating the perceived threat in an attempt to forestall imminent danger, may present as people-pleasing, fear to express self, flattery, yes person, exploitable, fear of fitting in, codependent disorder. Flood, being flooded with emotions in response to perceived threat, emotional flooding, emotional dysregulation. And then fatigue, flop, that was really geared toward newborns feeling tired or sleepy in response to perceived threat. Mislabeled as dissociating or numbing. So a summary on the trauma response. The trauma response is not typically a one and done process where someone experiences a fight response. While the initial reaction may vary, trauma responses are often reported as being variable to the individual. A trauma response can better be depicted as something like a pendulum, similar to a meltdown. Distress symptoms are initially present and require supports for the individual to self-regulate and discharge trauma energy. And then in parentheses, the internal cocktail of stress hormones that are amped up from trauma and every trigger thereafter. So I think that is all I'm going to read about that. And then if this is, still working on this, it's from the article, The Drama Triangle, the Roles and Faces That Keep Us in Drama and Suffering. This is a more updated version, but there are older versions. So you want to operate, you notice how the positive is on the top. So this is for you, and there's a disclaimer here, and I'll tell you in a minute, but you want to operate in the present moment. You want to be listening, repeating back, and working toward, relationship. So, creator, coach, and challenger on the top. It says creator claims personal power, coach facilitates self-empowerment, challenger provokes others to take action. So that's where you as an individual or your organization, like the whole town here, advisory committee, our offices. I mean, I think we do a pretty good job, but there's always room for improvement. The downward spiral or the negative is hero, villain, and victim. But the disclaimer is with the victim, there are some people that are seriously, they're victims. They're not in that it doesn't apply to this drama triangle. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And with that, I hope we can serve the public and each other more effectively.
Fantastic.
I mean,
You had 4 minutes to go, and if you would like to use your 4 minutes for.
yeah, sure. But I'm not a doctor, so Q&A, you know what you do.
If anyone has any observations or questions for Terry, we can go with the 4 minutes that she has. And I do point out that all the materials that you had for that are in the packet, so if people want to get them at home, all they have to do is go to My Town Government and pull down the.
Yeah, they're not necessarily in that order. I've made some changes.
Great, thank you very much, Terry.
Thanks,
Appreciate
everybody,
it.
for listening. And I didn't cry.
Okay, we're moving on to item 5E. This is action related to donation of a flower wreath. Hi, Laurie.
Hi, Laurie. How are you? A long time no see.
We've got a, I'd love to pull that picture up.
You related to Kathy?
No.
Pull it that way, but, so we have a, flower wreath donation from Lori Matson. You made this.
Yeah.
I have the camera. If I go over to Terry, that's
go.
perfect.
Bingo.
Yeah. Oh, now it's gonna zoom on me.
Look
Go
at that.
figure. So
Okay.
we've got, there's a picture in the packet, but everyone kind of gets the idea. She said, please find attached to the picture a red, white, and blue wreath. She would like to donate to replace the current wreath for the Veterans Memorial at Templeton Center on the lawn in front of the fire station near the blinking light at the intersection of Hubbardston Road and Patriots Road. So we've got
Very
a
timely,
donation.
very timely, huh?
Yes, yep. Laura, it's beautiful. I would absolutely love to accept the motion to approve the donation of the flower wreath for the Veterans Memorial.
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the donation of the flower wreath for the Veterans Memorial.
Okay, I have a motion.
Second.
Yeah, I have a second. From our veteran. Any discussion? Laura, would you like to say anything?
No, it looks so tattered every time I drove by it, because that's where I turn to go.
Yep.
So every time I look at it, I was so disgusted. I just wanted to make another one, so.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much. Really, really awesome effort. I saw it in the packet and I was really, really appreciative of that. So thank you so much. Any other comment? All right, on the motion.
Just a quick general
Yes, of
comment.
course.
I think it's absolutely wonderful to see the support we get from the community on a daily basis. And it just epitomizes the phrase that we all hear. It does get overused at times, but seriously, it takes a village. And we've got the village.
Absolutely. And Laurie gives to the community in a lot of different ways, and this is just another way she's giving to the community. So,
Very deeply appreciated.
okay, there's nothing further on the motion to accept the donation of the flower wreath for the Veterans Memorial. How would you vote? Matt,
Absolutely, yes.
Terry.
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Lori.
What, how would you like me to? Help out?
Like implement it.
Yeah.
Is it a fixed?
I would have to look at it.
Okay. Do you have it with here? Where is it? It's in your car right now. I don't know how it's a fixed or otherwise, but to basically swap it out, can we call on either the fire department or the DPW to assist with the installation?
If you wanna come down to DPW tomorrow around 8, we can go over,
I'm working.
Oh. well, yeah, right after
Jackie?
lunch is fine.
I can run up and grab it from her right now.
Okay. Okay, Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, next on the agenda this evening, item 5F. This is action related to town property use application for the Veterans Day service. This is on behalf of the American Legion. Well, okay. Is anyone representing the American Legion?
Jim stopped by our office and was working
did,
with Holly
okay.
on this. Not sure if anybody has any questions. They usually do a fabulous job.
And that's this Saturday,
Yes.
10:30 to 11.
Saturday or?
It's November
Saturday.
11th.
Yeah, Saturday is the
Saturday?
actual.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Veterans
actual
Day.
Saturday, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Friday is the.
Friday is Veterans, is the
observed.
holiday, right.
The federal holiday, correct.
but Saturday is the actual.
Yep.
Saturday,
Okay,
yeah.
It's Saturday, okay.
Thanks.
Just checking, okay.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the town property use application for Veterans Day service on the Baldwin Hill Pond.
Seconded.
Okay, I have a motion in a second. Any discussion? I do believe that, there's no fee. The town's, from a sponsorship or nonprofit. The fee would be waived.
Town sponsored to include nonprofit
yeah.
organizations, no cost.
I amend the motion to.
Need to amend it, maybe it's-
No, just you didn't approve it. I was
Yeah.
just wanted to be able to detail that.
Yep.
you know.
Well, Mr. Chair, if you can, it says on behalf of Templeton Community Services and
Okay.
Jackie's here, so I believe you already spoke with Jim about this. So it is sponsored with the
Absolutely.
Legion with Community Services,
Okay.
just a point of
Yep.
clarification. So it's covered.
Thanks, Adam, for the attention to detail.
Any further discussion?
Just a general comment.
Mhm.
This is something that goes on every year. And it's definitely the right thing to do when we think about the importance of Veterans Day, specifically the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. And as in the past, the Legion will be doing the brief ceremony and they always have a short luncheon and that's open to the public and everybody's invited to attend.
I would attend, but I'm actually speaking up at Cathedral of the Pines, so I'm gonna have to miss the Templeton observances this year. They were looking for somebody up there.
I will be there representing the Legion and the honor detail.
Fantastic.
So we'll be on the common doing the 21 gun salute.
Thanks, Tim. Any further discussion? Okay, on the motion to approve the town property use for Veterans Day service, how would you vote? Matt,
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Thank you very much. Next is action related to town property use for the Lions Club Christmas tree sale. Got Sue here. Hi, Sue.
It's that time
Good
of year
evening.
already. It's that time of year already.
Working on Christmas tree since July,
Oh, jeez.
actually before that, but July order had to be put in. So I'm Sue Larrabee representing the Templeton Lions Club, and once again, we are asking permission to do our Christmas tree sales up at the Common. In your packet, there's a layout of, it's basically exactly what we do every year. Layout of where the trees would go, where the hut would go, where the trailer would go, and porta potty. And, you know, we do respect the parking situation so that we don't impede any, emergency vehicles.
Mhm.
And we're very on top of that. People parking, they're infringing on that area. We ask them to pull forward and leave enough space, because you just never know when there's emergency going to occur. So I think everything is pretty much normal, the same as we've always done. We would start setting up next week around the trees come on the 19th.
Wow.
Yeah, so we have to get the trailer up there, the hut up there,
So we can,
electricity connected up, and all the stands out of everything unloaded out of the trailer so we can make room to put the trees inside. So it's a pretty big endeavor. The Boy Scouts are coming on the 19th to help us unload the trailer. They've been great the last 3 years. It'll just be the third year.
Excellent.
Obviously no alcohol, no fires, none of that. And I would like to make a special note that the application is working perfectly now.
Yes.
I know Holly's put some effort into getting it to work right, so it is. I wish she was here to hear that, but as long as you all convey to her that it is working well.
Awesome.
So if there's any other questions or anything I've omitted, feel free to ask me.
Chief, you good? All right.
Okay.
Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the town property use application for the Templeton Lions Club Christmas tree sales on the fire station side of the common and to waive the fee.
Seconded.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? Yes, Adam.
No, I just wanted to recognize Sue and the schools. They did a fabulous job with the whole pumpkin event. The kids were, from what I hear, they were thrilled.
They
So,
were.
and it went exceptionally well. So you folks do a lot for the community, and yeah, you made a lot of people's days with the district.
Yeah.
You two working
It was
together,
a
so.
fun event. Watch the kids walk down from the school, group at a time, gather around, wait for the bullhorn, run and get their pumpkins, and then walk back to school. I think the teachers like the time off too.
We had a lot of smiling faces.
Yeah, it was fun.
Nice.
And we had a beautiful day. Thank
Any-
you, Adam.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Hearing none on the decision to approve the town property use application for Lions Club Christmas tree sale. How would you vote, Matt?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well.
Okay,
Thank you, and good luck.
thank you very much.
So good luck with it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
All right, item 5H, action related to tennis and pickleball courts at Gilman Waite bid award.
You see in your packet, Mr. Chair, from the bid opening October 25th, VT Recreational Surfacing was the apparent lowest bidder at 103,423. Once the board awards this, I reached out to the chair of Parks and Rec. They're going to have a vote as well because the work's going to be on their property. Once the board awards this, I'll reach out to them. We'll coordinate. Hope to get this off in the spring, and then they'll have their vote before that as well. And then we're coordinating together, and I think this will be a great addition over at Gilman Waite, having the pickleball and tennis courts. It'd be certainly something that I know Candace is certainly looking forward to seeing. So as well as the rec.
I've already been contacted by members of the public about
Yeah.
pickleball.
Every sport in its spots now. They're all excited.
It's a big, it's a big thing.
It'd be a nice addition to Gilman Waite. Be an opportunity. So if you like playing tennis or you like playing pickleball, well, come May or June, hopefully it'll be all completed. And nice to see good things happen.
Yep.
Just want to add that our assistant went to the Massachusetts Recreation and Parks Association on our behalf today. in Bolton, and, when they were there, the first topic of the day was, what do you do in the winter with your pickleball and tennis courts, and how do you preserve them, because many communities have gotten brand new ones, and they want to make sure that they stay nice. So she has tons of notes on how to take care of it for the winter.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, so cool.
Bob shaking his head.
Some help.
Number one thing is, you don't use it,
Yeah,
close it down.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Mr.
Yeah,
Chair,
go
before we go to motion, I'd just like to, through you to Mr. Lamontagne, what did we appropriate for this? You remember?
CPC appropriated total 139,500
Okay,
off the top of my head.
so well under the appropriation that we put together. Okay, I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you.
Remember, we still have to go out with fence.
Yep.
Once we get the court.
Court gets done, fence comes next. Yep.
Give us a motion.
I'd love to. I move to award to VT Recreational Surfacing, the tennis and pickleball courts at Gilman, Waite.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none on the motion to award the tennis and pickleball courts at Gilman Waite to VT Recreational Surfacing. How would you vote? Matt?
Yes.
Terry?
yes.
Tim?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Fantastic. All right. Okay, moving on to 5I, action related to ARPA final spend plan. Okay,
Good night, Sue.
good night, Sue. All right. Over 2 years ago, the town of Templeton received word in a wire transfer of $2.43 million in American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA funds as they're known. We also received guidance on the use of these funds with very explicit restrictions to follow. The select board, Templeton staff, and community went about several efforts to suggest the allocation and the use of these funds in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. After careful consideration of the Capital Improvements Committee, the various department heads through the town administrator, our board's public deliberation, a town-sponsored survey, and finally, public input, I have compiled a list of recommendations that represents the procurement plan for the remainder and uncommitted ARPA funds. The total amount that we have approved thus far is $1.734 million. So taking into account what has already been committed, I have presented to you in the packet two tables that must not exceed what was dispersed to the town. This plan would account for the approximately $2.422 million of those funds. So you can see what was already committed, Baldwinville Station Fire Escape, COVID-19 tests, administrative ARPA tasks, I think that was legal. Road drainage and repaving, that was the $300 that we assisted with the emergency change order at the intersection right out this back window.
South Road.
That was.
Oh, that was South Road?
Bob picked South Road.
Okay, sorry. Senior Center, monthly meals at $7,300. Employee staffing through a very comprehensive, ARPA request through from the police department for staffing. HVAC, to revamp the police station HVAC. The light and water, 300,000, emergency change order. Premium pay totaling $93,500. And then recently approved highway six-wheelers, and the total amount of $388,000. And an additional $60,000 to carry home the Scout Hall project. As I had said, that's about $1.7 million. This evening, I present to you on page 2 and page 3 a culmination of what was left out there vetted by all of those different sources that I've talked about. So capital improvements, public input. I've actually put 2 of those in there where I cite them as community requests, and we can talk through those. But I gave you, the town administrator also had a recommended list. leaving a reserve, whereas I wanted to commit the rest, the remaining funds. So that's really the difference that you see between possible board action and TA recommended. So the quick list is Crotty Ave design project, senior center kitchen, town common work, fully funding senior meals, micro grants for community or for community use. Several school district HVAC upgrades, replacing internet switches, family subsidies for extended day program, athletic field, the north side of the middle and high school drainage, forestry to truck, and additional administrative reduction. Thank you. So I meant this to be a recommendation, not a rubber stamp, but to basically go through and say, this does represent the rest of the funds. And I know that there's got to be some discussion for it. So I'd just like to open it up for discussion.
Mr. Chair. So looking at sewer Crotty Avenue design phase, total request $130,000, PA not recommended, okay. Board action, seek alternate funding. Can you please explain that for me?
Just for the money not to come out of ARPA funds at $130,000, whether grant, retained earnings, but basically a different source.
So you're saying we're not gonna use ARPA funds for
That is
that?
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted to clarify that in the,
That would be my
Okay.
recommendation.
you're saying we can find some other way to pay for that. Whatever that may
Yes.
be, grants, whatever the case is, okay.
Senior center kitchen, our initial estimate through capital was 200,000 and based on the scope of work and trying to make all of these other numbers, I had reduced that to 150 because we really didn't have a lot of quote, and I know that there's been discussion of other equipment out there, and there may possible alternate funding once the Friends of Templeton Elders releases their hold of whatever their final balance is.
I have one other question, if it's okay. And this might have to go through you to Mr. Toth, because I know he's been the one kind of watching how ARPA is supposed to be spent and all that sort of wonderful stuff, and the rules that change 4 times a day and 4 times a day on a Tuesday and 6 on a Thursday. The senior center micro grants. My biggest concern is with those is just making sure that those are compliant with the ARPA rules, obviously. I don't want to put anything in here that would be in any sort of way looked at like, oh, you can't do that.
Can I explain those?
Yeah.
Jackie had talked to me about it as well, and I certainly am not looking to put a large administrative task on other people. And coming up with the idea in response to the community saying, don't leave us behind, which we had the discussion during the premium pay. So it was really an idea I got from Gardner when they did some micro grant, or I don't even know if they call them grants, but they call them facade grants. And so if you drive through Gardner, you see a lot of work on the facade of their downtown, and they used it to basically make the downtown look a little bit better. As long as it was compliant, I would not throw all the task on community services to be able to say, you're gonna vet everything. Rather, I like the idea of it, but I would rather come up with a method. I was thinking like a single point of authority. The board would vote for that.
Yeah.
And then we would vote to have a single point of authority. And I'm resting my gaze on Terry because you represent the heart of the board, and you really know people. You're very you talked about emotional intelligence for 20 minutes tonight, so you're a very caring person. I would wind up saying that's, I think, a method that we could distribute to have an application. They would come in, we would ask whether it was Terry or a single point of authorization to be able to approve that. A signature would then bring it to the accountant's office for disbursement. But it would be based on criteria, not just, hey, I need money, but it would be a demonstrated process to be able to allow people to say, you know what, school changed, I couldn't work remote and I lost income, or I wound up not being able to pay for this. Basically, that kind of helped that we got some feedback on. So with that description, I don't know if you had any,
No,
if you
ju-
wanted to try and answer Matt's
Just a
question.
quick overall comment. We had 4 specific criteria that we could not
Yes.
use ARPA funds for, and the ARPA was actually designed to supplement and replace lost income. That's how it was deemed. This actually does fit the criteria that was explained to us through council, and as we did a bunch of the research, so we're well within the recommendations and the specifications.
That was my concern. I just wanted to make sure that it was addressed. I had a feeling it certainly was, but I wanted to make sure it was addressed. That's
It's a
all.
valid concern, and
Yep.
I thank you for that.
And I would probably tweak the amount to be like a no more than 1,000. I think $1,000 would be sufficient per request.
Yeah, that's what I
You know,
meant.
not to exceed, they're basically. It's undefined, but at least the way forward would be a way for the residents. We'd come up, I would work with the accountant's office and Adam to be able to come up with that criteria. I do think it's a good idea to not approve by the board, but have some kind of streamlined approval process. Where I'm using you as an example right now. So if we got a request into town, Terry would be we would designate her as that single point of authorization where she would look at it. You would be able to understand what it was for, that it's not exceeding, that it's, commensurate with what the request was. You'd sign it. Right, you'd sign it and hand it over to the accountant's office. That's how, I think that's a streamlined way to be able to be responsive to community.
Excellent.
Do you have thoughts on me kind of using you as the example? Do you think that would be within you have the bandwidth or is that in your wheelhouse?
Read the applications and follow the parameters and could I visit the people? Or would it be just?
You could
by
probably
paper
contact them,
phone?
yeah. I wouldn't see why not.
Giving away money, sure.
Well, when I started thinking, after I read Jackie's email, and I was like, I came up with the idea to try and be responsive to what the expectation of the community was, and I went quick, this will do that, but I didn't have the methodologies. But the more I thought about it, I thought this doesn't have to be difficult. Is it like a 60 song, fill out a form, follow the sign or whatever. We didn't have to make it difficult, but it at least would be responsive.
I agree with that.
It would be a spectrum of use. We would have, some of the things that I read out there, road drainage and everything, all the way down to actually, cash assistance for community members. And
Well, that
Uh,
thousand.
Jackie, if I could ask, so we had $7,300 already earmarked, and I know that there is some execution on it, not, it hasn't been used up completely. Does the amount, does $30,000 help? Does it expand use? Does it,
In terms of the meals,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
so putting money towards that problem, it is beneficial.
Yes, and I would say particularly in the time frame before the kitchen is completed.
Oh,
That's
before,
critical.
Fair enough.
Mr. Chair, because I was wondering if that 30,000 would go to stocking that kitchen, part of it. Put aside for stocking the kitchen, because once the kitchen is up, you're gonna need spices, herbs, everything that makes the delightful cooking. Right? If you're gonna start the process of, so I don't know if we should have any, I don't wanna tell them what to do with their money, but that might make
I would
sense
just
to put some
allocate it.
aside.
If we got to that point, I don't have any delusion that the kitchen is gonna be within, installed within, the next couple of months or otherwise. rather designate the money for that purpose for
Yeah.
senior meals, and if we needed to redesignate because money was available or we needed to stock a kitchen, I would think that there was some kind of, I mean, the senior center sitting right on top of the food pantry as well is,
Mm,
you know,
Good
match, a
partnership.
great match as well. So I wouldn't put that much, I would recommend not putting that kind of restriction on it. We could always revisit.
Mhm. Just a quick question. Do you know if there's pots and pans in the basement, all the implements that you're gonna need to cook in a kitchen?
There's a few items, but no,
Yeah.
nothing like what we need.
And
My
on the
wheelhouse,
kit,
too.
yeah. On the kitchen, it's basically, you know, we're not looking for whatever we can do to get a quote in there to make it a functional kitchen. So I think that that amount could probably be well used for that.
So who would be the sign off on that?
Sort of thing that
On the, once it's passed, if it gets passed, who would be
we
the,
would put it to bid.
no, I mean,
The kitchen?
the 30,000.
Oh, you're talking about the meals.
Yeah.
30,000 would be placed in that line item that already exists in our BDA. And then it would, as you read the BDA, every one of these items would be listed,
Yeah.
correct? It would be the drawdown to the 2.4.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, first of all, Terry, are you okay with are you done with this line, with the line of questioning you had about that?
Yes,
Before I move forward?
yes, sir.
I had a question regarding the NRSD items, of which there are five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. There are 5 on here. I just a clarification, and that is that we're basically saying to NRSD, here, we want you to take this money to make these improvements to your facilities and everything else. We're not expecting anything from Phillipston as a result of this. This is just Templeton say, here, go fix this stuff that you have told us we need to have fixed.
I took everything at face value for how it was presented.
Yeah.
Right, so it's not,
We're not expecting Phillipston to come back with,
Anne Marie, you're-
Phillipston told us that they were repairing the roof on the old elementary school with their money.
okay, that's all. That was my question. That answers my question. We're saying, here you go, Narragansett, we understand you have these issues that need to be fixed. Here is the money to go fix them, and with the compliments of the town of Temple.
this would be fenced money.
Yeah.
If I can use that phrase to be able to say you're being, allocated 107,000 for HVAC upgrades. That's what the money would be for.
Yep.
And all great things. And I know Adam, the TAs and the board action, you know, maybe a little bit politically, I took everything that they had and said they had a use for everything. And I know they have a difficult, they had ESSER, they had, you know, they've got E&D or otherwise, but these are above and beyond items that would be able to get done. I sat in the school committee, went with the lowest number to make sure that they could hit the budget, and we balanced the budget. If they need these
Russ?
they need these things.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's,
So I see the logic. My first thought was, when I ran back in 2019, was, you know, our most vulnerable population. If you don't take care of your most vulnerable population. So I see the logic in the senior center. I see the logic in the school. My question would be, I would like to understand how one-time funds and family subsidies for extended day program fit in. I'm just questioning that one.
Back when we did this 2 years ago, we had a lot of parents that couldn't work because their kids were home. So one of our thoughts was if we could give something to those families that attend extended day, it would help them out just a little bit.
To catch up.
Yeah, or like what we had planned to do is however many families we had in the program, whatever money we got, we would divide amongst them. if it's just Templeton giving to it, then it would just be Templeton families that got the subsidy. When the last time I counted, we had 41 families, so if you were to give us this, be about $1,000 a family, it would just get credited towards the bill.
Yeah, that's your
Thank you.
Candace.
Is in that program are all the people that are, you know, do they pay for the service? Are they low income families that are in this daycare system? Or is this anybody that's in our community? I wanted to say as well, to whatever level.
It's anybody, because my kids were in the extended day program.
So this money could go to somebody that would have needs. So if we, my point is, it wouldn't be helping all of the people that that would not be in the program, that would be struggling. It would be helping people only in the program, regardless if they have needs or no needs.
It's targeted. It's targeted for people in the extended day.
Yeah,
And a lot of people that do need the help have the voucher system.
Yep.
That help them with that.
Voucher system.
The state.
You know, and after tonight, there might be another micro grant program available to those other people.
Yeah.
do they have
No
different
one smiled.
programs right now? Food and things like that, especially with the reduced lunch and stuff, but many in school districts, Kansas, one of them has free across the board regardless of what your income.
That's, I believe, statewide this year.
Statewide, yes.
Statewide, both, I
So,
think,
yeah,
for
they
that
wanna
one,
make
isn't
sure
it?
our child regardless.
Is it permanent?
Family,
Permanent.
yeah, every child regardless of where what level they are, and they're always gonna have a need, which is wonderful.
I'm not 100% if you meant it, but I want to use what you were saying to kind of say we're definitely not going to solve everything,
Right.
and there's a lot of other things that are going to be left off the table. As we're talking about it, this was supposed to be a equitable use. You know, that the TA and I talked for a while about, you know, Main Street Bridge. That's a difficult one. It's very expensive. So it's trying to balance what are the smaller things that you can do? What are some of the bigger things that you can do? As I started off with, 1.7 is already allocated. And that did a lot because it were big things that we needed. This kind of represents not the nice to haves, but all those other things that we want, that we just try and fully fund, or we wind up kind of spreading the wealth. But we're not going to fix everything with it.
May I please have an update on the the highway six-wheelers?
I can, through the chair.
Sure.
We just put that out to bid. It's on our webpage, so we're hopeful that we'll get somebody sealed bid process, and yeah, we're looking for 2 6-wheelers. That process has been posted.
And there's high confidence in that process.
Is that what you just wanted a status update on that, Tara?
Yep. Mhm.
And on the Scout Hall, that's gonna be, the work will be starting soon. We got our payment bond there, and it's moving forward as well.
So, and then
Those are the ones that you approved not too long ago.
I was just questioning, how much did TCTV put in for? Because that's a valuable service to the community too.
The chair and I actually spoke about that. I think the chair will provide an update on.
Yep.
And I know Steve's here too. We also have Jackie, Community Services Director, Fire Chief, and Anne Marie, the Business Manager in the district. Here for all the.
Okay, so senior center kitchen 150, town common work 30, senior center fully funded meals 30,000. Micro grants to be announced on how the distribution, but micro grants of up to 1,000 each. That means 55 micro grants would be available given these funding lines. And if there's any, if people want to amend, I'm open to that as well, kind of alluding to what the TA was saying about trying to make these things work. I again would want to fully fund all of the NRSD ARPA requests all the way through. Chief, I want to get you a truck.
Yeah.
That was gonna be my last
Yeah.
question before I was quiet. Is that, chief,
I
is
hope
that?
that was like Christmas, seeing that on there. I know that that was discussion of capital to try and figure out how they were going to do that, but I think I want to make sure that you're included as well. So if you still need that forestry 2 truck, I would advocate for that. I don't know what the current quote would be for that. I don't know if the 185 is still gonna hold. We can kind of talk through that, but Bob says no. It's now 210. No,
It will hold, but the quote that I brought to capital this year was a little less than that. So
okay.
unless between, if you approved it tonight, and by the time they can find the chassis, any cost increase that will.
Okay.
And is that your basically priority one?
Can I help you answer that?
Sure.
So he had priorities and otherwise. Some of them are really expensive.
Yeah.
And he's able to get some things through capital. They're going, whether they're going to town meeting or otherwise. The unique, this amount fit as I started to arrange all of these things to be, again, an equitable way to move through this. He needed it. It was, I think it was priority 3 or 4,
Okay.
but it was still within.
on the list.
It was, and it
Okay.
fit within the closeout structure.
And I 100% agree with you. In the interest of fair and equitable, give everybody something that we can do for them. And if we can get you a forestry truck, then let's get you a truck that you're gonna need. So.
We'd be replacing a 1978.
Yeah, you might need one. Mr. Chair.
That last line is actually reducing the administrative.
Right, that's minus 40 grand.
Minus, which would change that on the committed to 6,000.
That will be enough. Yes.
I say, Mr. Chair, well done, and I know this took a lot of thought and a lot of hemming and hawing and figuring out what's the best thing for each of the departments. So I commend you and Mr. Toth for putting this together, and as such, I move to approve the ARPA final spend plan as presented.
It is a motion. Second. I have a motion and a second. Further discussion. What did I miss? We had the, go ahead, we have the opportunity for discussion and amendment. What did I miss here? I'll ask the board first. What do you think, is there something that you would have liked to have seen that's on here that would fit into the structure?
I personally think this is a very comprehensive. It touches on every piece of the town in one way or another. I think it's all positive work. It's gonna help it's gonna help out all the departments in one way or another. I don't know if we have to amend it just to state that the micro grants should be in no more than $1,000 increments, or if we can do that administratively later.
It was as presented.
I think it's,
yeah.
so, but other than that, no, I think this is a very comprehensive plan, and like I said, I applaud you and Mr. Toth for putting it together and presenting it as it is right now to get this money allocated underneath the umbrella that ARPA has provided to us. So it's a great opportunity for the town. I look forward to seeing some of these things implemented.
Absolutely. Right, let's sit on it.
Yep.
Any other board comments?
Mr. Chair, if I
Yes.
may, to piggyback on Mr. Rivard's comments, yeah, I think overall, the whole intent with ARPA was to help offset and replace the lost revenues, which we've already identified. I think this is extremely comprehensive, and when we look at this, to echo Matt's comments, yes, this is far reaching, and I think this is the best use for the entire community. It's where we left no stones left unturned, and we really put a lot of thought and gave due diligence on what was being presented.
Thank you, Tim. Let me open up to the floor. Jackie and Steve, I know you wanted to speak. Jackie, if you could come up to the microphone, that would be great.
Mr. Chair, I do have a comment from Polly that people in the back cannot be heard, so anyone else from here on out that wants to speak, please come to the mic.
Thank you. Hi, Holly.
I deeply appreciate how difficult this must have been.
given the many requests. But I do have concerns with relative to TCTV's request. And when I think of the phrase lost revenues, I think of TCTV, and I'm concerned about how, while I realize ARPA funding is not going to solve every problem with their loss of revenues and subscribers falling off, but I'm concerned because what we're doing right now and all these other meetings, it takes a lot. It takes a staff and it takes a healthy budget, and that budget is being reduced as we speak with the revenues that they're losing. So I'm sure Steve can speak more, eloquently to it, but I just was asking for, just consideration for that.
All right, Steve, would you like to springboard off of Jackie's comments?
Sure. Thank you very much for the time. And Mike, I appreciate all the hard work you put into this as well. I mean, it's, I wouldn't want to have to make all those decisions. And as Jackie said, as you know, we do, TCTV does a lot for providing community information that is vital to people. I mean, just today, recap of the advisory committee pre-town meeting and state election results and select board preview. And here comes fall town meeting and a new TCTV news is on the way, I promise. But we're losing cable subscribers exponentially. And at the rate that we're losing them, we could only have 2 years left. I have to prepare for the worst case scenarios. And we've made a lot of progress. We have a good young staff. And I think we do a lot of good work and help the town with the meetings and to ensure local democracy, which I think is going to be challenged in a lot of other communities. So I think we're in a good place with that. But we need to grow to be sustainable in the future, and we're not there yet. We have some bright young people, and what I would like to be able to do is keep accelerating. And with this in mind, and knowing that our funding crisis is very real and the state is not quick to come to the rescue, and I wouldn't count on it, the town administrator suggested we put in for 200,000 in ARPA requests. And, we did that. And if any money is available to TCTV right now, I'm spending it on people. We're investing in people. And I'll double down on that, because with all the technology, and Tim and I have talked about this at times, the meeting owl doesn't run by itself, right? We have to plug it in. We have to do things with it. We have 2 people running meetings now, and we need to keep growing and keep looking for other people who can also help us provide community information. It's a tough thing to do, especially with part-time help. So what I would like to do is to create a full-time program coordinator position to grow one of our part-time positions. And we have an opportunity with one of the people we work with, who's an exemplary worker and has showed great promise. And I like bringing young people into our community, and I hope you do too. I think, some of us are reaching the retirement age, right? I want to pass on to a younger generation, others do. And we have that opportunity with some workers. And I think when we have that, we should capture it. And, not keep them captive, obviously, but give them a great opportunity that they can thrive in and help our community thrive. So I can give you some numbers, whatever you want in cost projections, whether it's just for the rest of this fiscal year or FY25. It would be nice to try to get through, because I don't think we're going to get any help from the state until then. And I'm worried about our budget too, and about affording everything. Right now, we're on a austerity program pretty much with our capital and equipment costs, and we expect to have to pull personnel costs out of our capital budget, which isn't a good thing, because we need to keep a reserve there for emergencies as well. So that's what I would do with money. I would double down on people and invest in good people, good young people for our community. And if you can find any way to do that, I am receptive. So thank you for your time.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if I can, I think overall, everything, you remember I put in the town common work one. I wouldn't, have an issue with, let's say we put that 30K towards TCTV and then just adjusted the micro grants at 20K. Cause if we're gonna be,
Get 40 back. So we already have undesignated $40,000.
well, 40, that gives you the
That
2422 number.
gets you to the 2422 number, so.
Okay.
So if you remove the town common work and you reduce the micro grants by 20K, that would give TCTV 50K. And you adjusted that to 1K each for the micro grants. And you would still have 35K for that. That would be my just minor adjustment to the plan, when I would say it's. I think that because TCTV, I don't think they didn't receive any funding through ARPA, so. I think that would. I'm willing to forego with my request. To make.
I don't want to, those, I don't know how the micro grants are going to shake out. I'm a little bit emboldened the way that we talked through it in terms of process. I really would like to see that help community members. Even in discussion with Candace talking about, there are so many different sectors that may not have been able to get help. I'm hesitant to pull off of that one. The 30, I think the 30 makes sense, even if we, started pulling money off these lines and call them undesignated. Because I think we have to talk, I think the thing I'm concerned about with the TCTV salary, wages is sustainability. Being able to, if as Steve talks about dwindling cable subscriptions and, is there an end in sight for this kind of programming in the community based on cable TV revenue? So I'd be worried about trying to keep a full staff if we knew 2 or 3 or 5 years from now, we were no longer going to be able to put money into that, ARPA or not. Is it going to be sustainable to maintain the level of service that he offers today?
So we would be looking at, for clarification, TCTV and then in parentheses, undesignated. Is that what you're looking at for 30K?
I like to throw it in an undesignated. Well, I think based on, the passion that we've had from community services to be able to say they haven't got anything, they're going to use it, they're in a deficit as it is. They do have equipment needs. I was talking with Steve about they're always going to have, they're sitting on a mountain of equipment, and it goes out, it requires maintenance. So I understand that he does have money, but he needs to be very, very smart about where he is designating that money. So as we start pulling the money out, I'd rather have that conversation afterwards to say, what does that mean? How is it meeting his success? Rather than trying to get to, I feel like, when you go into a community, you're raising money and it's got a thermometer, you put, the red gets up. I want to be able to give him what's comfortable based on our conversations tonight, to be able to say, what would this then get us? How far, how long?
That makes sense. And then if you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, go ahead.
And then if you do, use town common work 30,000, would that be something we could put in for, annual town meeting? Would that be something we could put in 2025?
That was already submitted to capital, could go to annual town meeting.
Is the work. Would we put that out to bid? I know somebody complained about the patchy grass. And the,
Leveling out, and there's a lot of. Well, not,
Bob,
there could be some,
Just across from the church, Tim talked to me about where the buses are. That area, if you put the granite and repave it, you almost got 30 grand right there. I mean, it's not gonna go far.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, I mean, Adam was the sponsor of that. To
Mr.
begin
Chair,
with,
would it,
yeah. So for him to retract it, I think that's,
Mr. Chair, Mr. Town Administrator, would it be better to get a study up there done? See what's what?
Well, I think the question right now, Terry, if I can, Mr. Chair, is ultimately you're approving your final spend plan. The select board have the final say on it. TCTV is saying that they would like some funding. So I think the chair has a good suggestion, to amend the minor and town common work would essentially become undesignated. And then Steve would come back with his plan to the board. Believe that's where you're going, Mr. Chair. I don't want to speak for you, so.
yeah, let's see. Forestry, truck chief, 185. You think that's still a good estimate? Is there? Yeah. Okay. What are the thoughts in the room on the micro grants? Do you think, I don't see any YouTube chat or otherwise. The micro grants a good idea. That was, something that came from the community. If we properly administrate it, I think that's a good thing. Is $1,000 the right number? I really appreciated earlier, Emery, when you're talking about how many people are in your program and what the money would wind up being. It was right around the same amount as the micro grant and the bonuses, the premium pay, that was 15. So yeah, so we're in terms of monetary, and plus it's a total amount. But it's 55 that would be able to take care of at least 55 requests. If we needed to be able to help TCTV with a better number, rather than just 30. And a lot of the numbers that I was using were based on the BVA. We had the cost of doing exact dollars are tough. I want to be able to use Kelly to be able to say what was there any administrative fee for the transfer of that money? Sometimes the state takes a pass through. They actually have a wind up having them. There may be some administrative decrements to that. So I was using those to come up with the totals. So it really didn't meet 2.4. It was a little bit less based on what the total was on our BDA. So I think we could 30,000 from the town common. Buy from micro grants to reduce that to 50.
Then put it to undesignated for the time
Yeah,
being.
and then we work
Steve
with
can come back.
how can that benefit TCTV?
Mr. Chair, I would amend my previous motion
Okay.
to remove the line CIC town common work and put those funds to undesignated. And to deduct $5,000 from senior center micro grants and move those funds to undesignated.
Okay. All right, and
Did that cover?
I have a second for that amendment. Is there a second for the amendment?
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I have a comment.
Yep.
Looking at this, I think it's very respectable, and I appreciate Mr. LaMontagne, pulling back on that 30,000. I can also fully appreciate and understand, Steve and I have had quite a few conversations on TCTV. And looking at this whole big picture, this was the ARPA funding that was awarded to us 3 years ago, and we're in the middle of a process. There is another process. 3 weeks ago, the president talked about a 13 to 14 billion with a B dollar infrastructure grant and upgrade that is being worked through the Congress right now. We don't have all the answers. And part of it fell off the radar nationwide with the struggles getting a Speaker of the House. So there has not been a bunch of press or a bunch of information flowing. But as the old Billy Mays commercials on the late night TV was, but wait, there's more. They've already telegraphed that to us. There will be other funding available to every community in the country. If we can take everything at face value. So it's always, don't count the chickens before they've hatched or put all the eggs in one basket, but there is still other mechanisms of relief that are being discussed and made available.
Okay.
So it's not all doom and gloom if we leave this as originally presented. Just.
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
The only comment that I would make to that is that we physically have this money basically in hand right now.
Correct.
And I would like to see TCTV get at least some of it. And the only concern that I have with, and I know you say this is potentially coming, but we've seen the problems that our federal government has had over recent years. Not even only recent years, over recent weeks. My enthusiasm for what you say may be coming is obviously tempered. And I would at least like to take the benefit of something that we have physically in hand now and just give them something now so that if, God forbid, what you're talking about doesn't materialize, we've at least tried. And that would be my thought process on it at this point.
I look at it as a positive.
Mhm.
Could be God's way of saying, wait, the money's coming. Right?
Any further discussion? As undesignated, Jackie and Steve, if you just work on what that ARPA request would look like, and that would just come before the board. Candace, go ahead.
I just think it's wonderful that you're giving money to CCTV. I mean, this is how many people in our community, especially homeward bound, get to know about what's going on in their government. They do a great service and, they put a lot of work and effort into it. And even during the pandemic and stuff, they really helped us to get information that we could not get. Or some people were afraid to leave the house because they didn't understand the pandemic. So having TCTV and the staff has been a wonderful thing. A lot of towns have come to us because they tried to figure out how to do their own thing and have gone to Steve, or you can see it. And then when you watch some of theirs, you can see how they've tried to mirror some of the stuff he's done on their own. So I just say that we're very blessed in this community to have TCTV. Many communities do not have it. Pittsburgh has like access, and Leominster, they're huge. For disclosure, my family member does the one in Leominster, so I know a lot about the cable and the future of it. And people think it's a done deal, but there's many aspects that you'll be seeing that no one's even thought of.
Thank you.
Especially in emergencies. Not everything is foolproof these days. Old fashioned is always better.
Thanks, Candace. Any further discussion on the ARPA spend plan?
Can I just clarify the senior, you're calling it senior center micro grants?
No,
It's not-
we're not. Call it community.
Oh,
we just
okay.
Call it community micro grants.
Okay, I thought you said
Yeah.
senior center, I'm sorry. I just
It-
wanted-
it's
I had it, yeah.
just so that it's clear that it's not just.
Community.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes, community micro grants, and I'll work with the administration to come up with a methodology. If you're willing, I really like that idea.
I'll work with you
All
too.
right, that's very positive. Awesome. All right.
You did there.
I think it does meet what the public, what the residents are asking for. They have
That's
a,
great.
they have a heart for each other.
That's- Everybody wins a little bit on this one. All right. Hearing nothing further on the amended ARPA final spend plan. How would you vote? Matt,
Yes.
Terry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Wow.
Did it.
That's amazing.
Excellent.
I got goosebumps on that one.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your help and support. I appreciate it.
Of course, Steve.
You're welcome, Steve.
Anytime.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, Bob, come on down. Next item is item 5J, action related to surplus auction. There is a change document.
Yep.
That came through on email. So the one that's in the packet is not going to be as accurate as the one that we're reviewing right now.
Had it up.
It will get
Hi,
added.
Chief.
It will get alluded to in a minute. Hi,
Good evening again. 2 years ago, 2021, we had this same auction, the same company. They did a fantastic job. You have the list, updated list in front of you. And we're probably predicting outcome of 14 or 18,000 total from everything. It could be more, depends on the bidders. Everything's broken down in lots and all numbered items. We went to the senior center, grouped everything, everything's got a number. You'll see. We do have the link for the auction coming up. You can view all the items on the auction. I'm here tonight for you to approve the list. And 2 years ago, if you remember correctly, we needed somebody to have the authority to do the final approval, the closing of the auction, which you granted me that last time, so
that should be in the motion.
I don't know if Adam has anything else he wants to add.
I believe most members, exception of Mr. Rivard, were all here when we did it, so it's all online. And just when that he needs to be able to have the authority to, from the board to approve the bids, basically.
Is the suggested motion adequate to allow for that authority?
I would say we probably have to add that authority in there, and it's not listed. in
And
the
to add
suggested-
authority to finalize auction results?
Well, you're already designating them, so I think you're good here.
You designate him to
Okay.
award the surplus.
Oh, okay, no, I'm
So that
sorry,
should
I
be
misread it, yeah,
sufficient.
okay, we're good,
Okay.
we're good.
I had a question about the senior center items, pool table, the walkers, crutches, wheelchair. For whatever proceeds that made, member of the public said, is the senior center able to get that money back? Are we able to, whatever proceeds that you make from those line items, are we able to give it back to the senior center?
There's a way to do it. What would happen is it would go to the general fund. But once free cash gets certified.
Yep.
Following whatever the sale was, we keep track of whatever those items were that we want to put back in.
Yep.
And then we would just have to appropriate it at the town meeting.
I'm not sure what the dollar amount is going to be, but it was a request from, I guess the pool table has some history to it. How it was donated, how it was brought here or otherwise, so I think people were just a little, like, we would like to see the senior center be able to get that. If there's a way to do that, if it was, proceeds that were warranted, like, wow, that actually is enough to buy a couple cases of water. Actually, we don't do cases of water in Massachusetts. But that was a community request.
Can I get my money back?
What about mine?
I know. Then you guys can send it. I don't know.
Yeah,
It was just, it was a consideration that I got from a community member.
There's a way to do it.
Okay.
Wow.
I think if the department needs the money, they're gonna get it, whether it was, if you got $75.37 for the wheelchair and crutches or otherwise, I'm not sure it's gonna be enough to be able to give back to that department where they have the appropriate accounts to get what they need. But it was just, it was a question about structure. If there was a way that was meaningful, then there is. But if it's gonna be negligible, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, like the pool table, it's not gonna be big money, probably the biggest item.
Yeah.
The other stuff, there's decoration, it's dollar amount stuff, that's nothing,
Nothing earth shattering.
right? So is Holly listening?
She was.
She's in the
I
chat.
think she is.
I emailed this to Holly as well. She was waiting for the list. She already has the other information that I gave to her the other day, so Holly, if you can hear me, you can jump on that tomorrow.
Yep,
And
thanks,
get this-
Bob. I'll get the ad updated and upon the board declaring the property surplus this evening, I'll send it to you and Adam for review before I post it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or?
I move to declare the item surplus and designate the Director of Public Services to award for surplus auction.
Second.
I think Terry beat me to it.
Okay, motion in a second. Any further comments or questions for Bob?
Good job.
Thank you, Bud.
Thank you.
Hearing nothing more on the motion to declare the item surplus and designating the DPW or Director of Public Services to award for surplus auction. How would you vote, Matt?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes,
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you.
thank you.
But.
Okay, last item on for new business, item K, discussion related to accountant FY 2024 cash forecast. Mr. Rivard.
For it, Mr. Lamontagne, he was waving in my direction saying, hey, let me say something first.
Please, please.
Night, Bob.
I did have a conversation with our accountant and about it being in the quarterlies.
Yep.
She did say she's gonna update the quarterlies moving forward.
Okay.
That, I know that was a concern when we spoke, so I just wanted, I followed up since
Thank
we
you.
last chatted, and in her next quarterly, she said she will put the cash forecast in there. If that
And,
works.
And it does, and understand that the whole reason for this request is, so the accountant provided us the cash forecast back in August. This is, I believe, one of the things on our audit that has been asked for repeatedly.
Yep.
And we were finally able to get that done. As important as the cash forecast is, it's also just as equally important that it be continually updated throughout the year, at least quarterly, so that we can understand where our income is coming from, what may be lagging behind, what may be ahead of schedule, that sort of thing, so that we can understand if we need to make adjustments. And that's what I'm asking for in this request, is that we update those cash forecasts so that we can see forecast versus actual. Where are we? Where's the money coming from? Is anything lagging behind? Is anything ahead of schedule? And if there's any action we need to take as a result. So that's what the ask is in this case. And so that's why I've asked that now that we have it, let's have it updated quarterly so that we can understand that information better.
Was the recommendation quarterly or month to month? You said month to month.
I don't recall either.
Mr. Roselli said month to month.
I don't recall either, but where we're starting this, I think that asking for it quarterly as a start is a good start. And then as we get better at doing this, maybe in the future we ask for it monthly, but right now let's start with quarterly while we're still getting used to having this done.
And the account will be working with treasurer collector's office as well.
Excellent.
So between the coordination of those two finance departments, I think you'll be seeing a nice update every quarter.
Good. That's all I wanted.
Appreciate that.
Yep, that's all I wanted. As far as I'm concerned, that was the discussion. I'm good.
All right. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Adam. That is the last item of new business that we have this evening. At this point, I will entertain board member comments and reports. Except from Terry.
Terry got his 5 minutes. It's gone.
Talk about food is medicine. I'll save that.
If I may?
Sure.
A couple of comments this evening. First of all, I would like to thank all of the members of the town who came to our pre-town meeting last night with the advisory committee. It was very good discussion at that meeting last night. I want to thank the advisory committee for their good discussion and for their recommendations. You will see those obviously in the voter's guide that you will get at town meeting on Wednesday, the 15th, 1 week from today, 6 p.m. Narragansett Regional Middle School Auditorium. Excuse me.
It's also posted on the webpage.
Also posted on the webpage, templetonma.gov, as is this beauty, which is the town meeting warrant, signed, all that wonderful stuff. One thing that I would like to note is that our advisory committee, as of the conclusion of yesterday evening's meeting, is without a quorum at this point because one of their members did have to resign in order to take a position elsewhere. We appreciate Mr. Uvard's service to the town. He's been on the advisory committee for a couple of years now. So I am asking our townspeople, I'm making a plea to them, if you have any interest, please go to the website, templetonma.gov, pull the committee interest form, fill it out, get it back to us. We need at least one more member on our advisory committee right now so that it will function. It cannot function without a quorum. As of right now, we have a chair and a vice chair. So please submit the committee interest form and come join us and help us do the business of the town. The advisory committee is probably the most important committee that we have here in Templeton. They are the financial watchdogs for the town. They are the ones who provide recommendations on the warrant and every other financial matter that happens around here. So very, very important function that needs to be filled. So please, if you have any interest, submit the committee interest form. We want your help. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm done.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
Say thank you.
Good job tonight.
Two quick things. Everybody keep their eye to the sky. On my commute here from work this evening, they were using the dreaded S word in the forecast. Tomorrow morning.
Vile weatherman.
Ice accretions are predicted for the morning, so our youth may be doing a little bit of a happy dance tomorrow morning. I don't know yet.
Oh, God help me.
There is no school Friday. That's
Yeah.
the celebrated Veterans Day.
Yep.
And this year, not unlike in the past, Miss Damon's 5th grade class is still proceeding with what they do every year, and the learning and through the history and studying and learning about the veterans. The presentation is being postponed, but I've already had 2 different notifications throughout the day today. It will be next Tuesday morning around the 10 o'clock hour at the middle school.
Okay.
So we look forward to that, and I know the youth don't always understand the importance of what they're doing, and this is one time to really highlight their efforts as well as highlight the efforts of the teacher. And this is her 24th or 25th year of doing this. It's absolutely amazing. So a huge shout out to Mrs. Damon over at middle school.
Tuesday, 14 November,
10-ish, yeah. Couple years ago, I think we had 3 veterans there. Last year, there were 11. I'd like to see the numbers go up.
Yeah, that was an interesting year because they didn't know where to send they had all of these cards that they did that year. And my next door neighbor came over and said, I need some help. Michelle Cormier, who is Miss Damon's teaching assistant in the classroom. So we read several of those right here at this table.
Yes, we did.
And they invited us over, or actually, we asked if we could go over there and show our appreciation. And we were in the newsletter. I think we wound up being in the Rivard News that year. They carried the story. But again, it was really nice to be able to offer the appreciation for all of their Miss Damon and Michelle's work. And we presented them with some town citations and thanks.
Yep.
So that was a great year.
And if I may, just to further expound on that, again, the significance of what the youth are doing, not only did it pull on a couple of the heartstrings of members of the board, that whole process went forward. Those cards were taken to some of the veterans hospitals,
All
the
over
VA
the
hospital in
place. Yep.
Bedford, some made it out over to Holyoke at the Soldiers Home, some made it on into Boston. So it was not just, this is what's going on here. It blossomed and became a statewide event. So the reach to the veteran community was huge.
Yep.
And we did relay that back to Mrs. Damon as well. It was phenomenal work all the way around.
Thanks, Tim.
Yep.
You good?
I'm good.
I don't have anything other than I failed to mention during citizen input that Adam's office received a bylaw complaint, not a form, but basically an email with a bylaw complaint. I'm in receipt of this. I need to do a quick assessment of the type of query. I will get back to you on what the nature of it is. I'll work with Adam to be able to put that if we need. If the query rises to the point where I need the board to be able to adjudicate that complaint, then we'll put it on as an agenda item and we'll act accordingly. But I need to be able to assess the complaint and decide how to handle that in accordance with the bylaws. Other than that, I didn't have anything else. Adam?
Just one other thing real quickly is that, to all the veterans out there watching, to the veterans in the room, to the veterans across the country. I know Happy Veterans Day is not appropriate because it is a remembrance of what you have gone through. But we thank you and commend you for your service. And hopefully, God willing, what we've been through as far as wars, we will never have to go through again. But your service is commended, and thank you for your thing. Thank you for it.
Well said, sir. Thank you.
I think, I like Matt said, that was perfect. We really appreciate our veterans in the community. I think this board has shown that. And thank all those who serve our country.
If you want a good read, it was recommended to me, Tribe, Jackie Prime, and it's on audio. That'll help you when you're approaching veterans. And I've tried, one of the things was they don't want the fanfare. They want you to ask them about their experience. And so I've been trying that out, and I have been so blessed. And I've worked a lot here, you know, when I had time, I ran into a veteran and I was just moved to hear his service. And then just the other day, Sunday, last Sunday, I asked someone, so where did you serve? What was the hardest thing about your service? Apart from his family, the hardest thing was being apart from his family. So, I mean, that just gave me a different perspective, rather than just say, thank you for your service. Let me hear about your service. So Tribe is the name of the book.
Thanks, Jerry. Okay, we are gonna go into executive session, so I'm gonna handle that as I'll ask for the motion to go into executive session to include the chapter verse. And then we'll take a quick recess for TCTV to be able to close up shop. They will do that. We will go into executive session. The board will only come out of executive session to close the public meeting.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I move to go to executive session per Massachusetts General Law 30A, Section 21A-2, strategy renegotiations with non-union personnel, treasurer, collector, and to come out of executive session for the sole purpose to adjourn the business meeting.
Second.
Tim had the second. Any discussion? What's the next meeting? We got fall town meeting on the 15th.
29th, I believe, right?
The 29th is the next select board meeting. Any discussion on going into executive session? Hearing none on that motion to go into executive session, how do you vote? Matt?
Yes.
Terry?
Yes.
Tim? Yes. And I vote yes as well. We will take a quick break, but executive session starting in